Section 2.4 and 2.5. In Section 2.4, we're going to talk about subtracting real numbers, and in 2.5, we'll take a look at multiplying and dividing real numbers. Well, I'm assuming that you've seen subtracting numbers before, and I hope you remember that subtracting is really just another way of adding. A minus B is another way of just saying take A and add the opposite of B. So in other words, 3 minus 7, that's the same as 3 plus negative 7, which we did in the last section. And we notice that our negative number is the bigger one, so we know our answer is going to be negative. So that one's negative 4. B, that's one for you to do at home. C, negative 3 minus 6. Well, we're $3 in the hole, and then we spend $6 more. That means we're altogether $9 in the hole. D is homework for you. E. Alright, this is one that people sometimes have issues with, but remember that subtracting means add the opposite. So 5 minus negative 6 is 5. I add the opposite. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. So 5 minus negative 6 is the same as 5 plus 6. That's simply 11. F. Do that one at home. G. Alright, fractions. We remember from a couple sections ago that when we're going to add or subtract fractions, we absolutely positively have to have a common denominator. We are subtracting. We have two negatives, so we know our answer is going to be negative. But we need a common denominator. I have a 4 here and an 8 here. Looks like my common denominator is an 8. So I'm going to write both my fractions so that they have a denominator of 8. Now the second fraction already had a denominator of 8, so nothing changes there. The first fraction, to go from a 4 to an 8, I have to multiply by 2. If I multiply by 2 on bottom, I have to multiply by 2 on top. So that's a negative 6. Alright, then when we add or subtract fractions, the denominator stays the same, so the denominator is going to be an 8. And then a minus 6 and a minus 5, minus 11. H, you do H at home. So far, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 problems to do at home. There'll be more. Let's see. 3 hours ago, the temperature was 7 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature has decreased by 12 degrees Fahrenheit in the last 3 hours. What is the current temperature? Well, the temperature started at 7 degrees Fahrenheit, and it decreased, so that means subtract 12 degrees Fahrenheit. 7 minus 12 is negative 5. So the temperature would be minus 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Question 3. That's another one for you to do at home. Okay, the next thing we'll see in this section is something called change in quantity. Change in quantity simply means you take the ending value, the ending amount, and you subtract the starting amount. Problem 1 says, the U.S. presidential election in 2000 was the closest presidential race in the electoral vote since 1876. Yet only a little over half of the eligible voters chose to cast such a vote. See the table below. So it gives you the year of the presidential elections and then the percent of the people who vote. For the years listed, find the change in percentage of voter turnout. Okay, well, from 1980 to 1984, we take the ending amount minus the starting amount. So we would have 84 to 80. Our answer would be 59.9 is the ending amount minus 59.2. 0.7 if you subtract those two decimals. It might help to line them up and down to subtract. And we just continue on. 84 to 88. We're going to have 57.4 minus 59.9. Now, what I might do this time, I notice my answer is going to come out negative because the negative 59.9 is bigger than 57.4. But in order to come up with the answer, I'm going to go off to the side here and do 59.9 minus 57.4. That's the right answer. It's just going to have the wrong sign, but we recognized our answer is going to be negative. So we subtract, we get 2.5. All right, and we're just going to continue down in that manner all the way. So 88 to 92, we would have 61.9 minus 57.4. And I'm going to tell you honestly, there's nothing preventing you from using a calculator a little bit here. I think I'll do that for the rest of these maybe. Let's see, I need 61.9 minus 57.4. That's going to be 4.5. 92 to 96. I'm going to have 54.2 minus 61.9. 54.2. Oops. 54.2 minus 61.9 minus 7.7. On a test, by the way, you will be allowed to have a calculator. You will be allowed to use it. So we might as well use it here a bit. From 2000 to 96, we have 54.7 minus 54.2. I don't need a calculator for that one. That one's 0.5. From 04 to 2000, we have 63.8 minus 54.7. That's 9.1. A couple more to go. From 08 to 04, 63.6 minus 63.8, that's minus 0.2. And finally, from 12 to 08, we have 57.5 minus 63.6, that's minus 6.1. Alright, so there's the answer to part A, all of those. Part B, what is the greatest increase in the percent? The greatest increase was right here. 9.1% increase going from 04 to 08. Alright, you're going to do problem 2 at home, but I'm going to warn you problem 2 is a little bit different. What I've done with problem 2 is I've given you the percent changes. Or not the percent, the change in millions of bushels. So what this tells you is, from 2005 to 2006, you went down by 0.3 bushels. So if you had, let's make it real easy, 1 bushel in 05, then in 06 you would have 1 minus 0.3, which would be 0.7. Okay, so you're going to answer questions A, B, and C. If 10.8 bushels of corn were harvested in 2005, what was the amount in 2007? So to go from 2005 to 2006, you went down a little bit. To go from 6 to 7, you went up a little bit. So you're going to start with a 10.8 and you're going to go down and then up. What periods were the corn harvest increasing and where was it decreasing? You should be able to handle that. Okay, the last thing we have in this section. Actually, that was the end of that section. Now we go to section 2.5. Multiplying or dividing real numbers. There's a simple rule, and the rule is the product or quotient of two real numbers that have different signs is negative. The product or quotient of two real numbers that have the same sign is positive. In other words, here I have one negative and one positive. Those have different signs. So the answer is going to be negative. 5 times 4 is 20, but it's going to be negative, so it's negative 20. Same deal here. Here I'm dividing. I've got one negative number, one positive number. When I have different signs, I get a negative answer. And 63 divided by 7 is 9, so the answer is negative 9. Now, Problem C is a little bit different. It says the product or quotient of two real numbers that have the same sign is positive. Here they have the same sign. That one's negative and that one's negative. So when I divide, I'm going to get a positive answer. And 32 divided by 8 happens to be 4. And then finally, for me, part D. Part D, once again, I see I have a negative and a negative. They have the same sign, so my answer is going to be positive. I have some fractions. I see some things that I can reduce. I can reduce the 4 with the 20. That's a 1 and a 5. I can also reduce the 3 and the 9. That's a 1 and a 3. I already determined that my answer was going to be positive because I was multiplying two negative things together. I multiply my tops, that's 1. Multiply my bottoms, that's 15. There's my answer. Okay, well, I have 3 more problems for you to do. Bring those problems with you to the next class, and we'll do some more interesting things with positive and negative numbers.